Welcome to Rediscovering the Lost Art of Conversation and Listening. I'm Stephen Bank, and I'll be your host, and with the help of Marcella Trowbridge, we're going to discuss and demonstrate the art of listening in conversation. I hope you will be able to apply what you learn today to real-life situations. Well, first, I want to tell you how I came to realize the importance of being a good listener. During my 50 years as a clinical psychologist, I encountered people of all ages, from all walks of life. I had the privilege of knowing, listening to, and having conversations with people of every kind of background. Connecticut and Middletown, where I work, is a melting pot, and so has been my practice. People came for help with many different problems, many of them serious enough to interfere with their ability to love, to work, to make life-altering decisions, or to cope with crippling emotions. Others came to discover themselves in new ways. As you might imagine, the success of this work depended on listening carefully to what they said, how they said it, and sometimes what they didn't say. Many of these people had never had an intimate conversation with anyone. I had to earn their trust. I had to make my office a safe space where they could speak about anything, including their most upsetting experiences. I not only had to listen, but I had to really listen. Listening is an imperfect process. Real listening is not for those who want precise answers or rapid solutions. Real listening requires respect for uncertainty, tolerance for ambiguity, awareness of your own emotional upsetting experiences, and the ability to keep your cool when the other person gets defensive or expresses anger. I hope this video will give you the confidence to initiate difficult conversations, and I hope also you'll be able to apply the art of listening to your everyday life. Listening is hard work. Listening isn't simple. To really listen, you must cultivate the willingness to hear other people's complex life stories. Real listening means you don't judge or jump to conclusions. It means keeping calm when your emotions or the other person's emotions make listening difficult. You'll need the capacity to be surprised, but not shocked by what people will tell you. Real listening requires you to demonstrate that you understand the other person. You can learn to listen by acquiring various techniques, but real listening is first and foremost an attitude that puts the other person first. Here are 7 habits of highly effective listeners. 1. Look at and treat the other person with care and appreciation. 2. Minimize distractions, phones, people interrupting. 3. Reduce your talking by 75%. Do not interrupt, except if the person is rambling, and minimize the I. Ask open-ended questions. Follow only what the other person is saying at the moment. Check to see if you understand by paraphrasing what was just said, and then ask the speaker if you have accurately reflected what the speaker has in mind. Don't assume you understand. Cultivate being naive. And don't make judgments. That's number 6. Do not give advice. Don't offer your opinions. Do not interrupt unless you get a signal to do so. Number 7, pay attention to the speaker's emotions, not just the words. Be aware that your own feelings and emotions can destroy good listening. This is how listening begins. We're born to be social. From the very moment of birth, we crave connection to other human beings. We attach ourselves to anyone who will offer warmth, touch, and the human voice. Listening is the key to understanding others. What do they want? What do they feel? How do they see the world? Early in life, being listened to, known, and understood is absolutely necessary to have secure relationships later in life. Let's watch an intimate conversation between a baby girl and her mother. They are really listening to one another.
Hi, can I check your belly? Let's see. Let's see. What do you think? Oh, that's a good belly. Let's check those hips. Hi. Hi. There you are. There you are. Good job. There you are. Do you have anything to say to me? Yes? Do you have anything to say to me? Oh, that's a nice smile. Yeah. Can you tell me a story? Yes. Can you move your mouth and talk to me? There we go. Hi. Yes. Is that true? No. Yeah. 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 Oh, wow. No. Really? Wow. Okay, let's check these toes. Good. Let's check these knees. Good. Yeah? Let's check in here. So this is something we always do at home, and it's the beginning of having conversations, right?
What did you see happening here? The mother exactly mirrors the infant's face and voice. She smiles, she chirps, she widens her eyes, she praises the baby for imitating her, and there's a rhythmic cadence of connection. They are like dancers whose interaction is perfectly timed. They are attuned to one another. It's lively, it's fun. They instinctively react to each other's every movement. They are in sync. They are listening not only with their ears, but with their eyes and mouths and their whole being. They are laying down a template for a relationship. This is where empathy begins. Listening is not just something that happens inside your ears. The baby we just watched has been listened to with the mother's whole being. Adults who are listening and really being understood show the same kind of synergic dance as this baby and mother pair when they, the adults, are intentionally listening to one another. At every stage, at every age, listening requires being fully present. When this fully present relationship is missing, between the critical ages, let's say, of 3 and 10 months, there can be terrible consequences. If this absence of loving parental care happens to children who have been neglected, abused, or abandoned, they will experience lifelong troubles making relationships. In 1948, the psychiatrist Rene Spitz went to an orphanage in Mexico where he studied infants who had been taken away from their mothers. Let's watch the film. It may be upsetting to watch. This baby's gaze is an empty 100-yard stare. He tries to find solace in his own body, and finding little comfort, he becomes frantic. He's acutely distressed. And when later on, and this isn't shown in the film, a friendly adult tried to engage him with a furry toy, the infant had no reaction at all. The baby is destined to have a lifetime of troubled relationships. This baby really knows the sound of silence. Next, let's see what happens when a mother is fully present and then suddenly stops and stares blankly at the child for less than 2 minutes. Watch what happens. It's called the still face experiment.
In the still face experiment, what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby who's about a year of age.
I'm like a girl. Oh.
And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her.
Yeah.
This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this. And then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points. The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, "Come on, why aren't we doing this?" Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions, they turn away, they feel the stress of it, they actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
Okay. I'm here. And what are you doing?
This baby felt abandoned for a full minute. Perhaps this is a template for what happens to us in later life. This must not have been easy for the mother to withdraw from her child. So here are some basic things that you can do to become a better listener. First and foremost, the listener must have curiosity. The curiosity means unquenchable desire to know more, to see more, to learn more, to ask why. Curiosity means asking questions, lots of questions. To really listen, you consider the other person to be your teacher. Finding out about other people provides you with a lifetime of continuing education that you just can't find in a classroom. Human beings are natural-born storytellers. They love the chance to speak about themselves. An excellent listener makes it easy for people to tell their stories. Now imagine, you are driving home from a party, and you're thinking, oh, those people are so boring. Well, did anyone ask you a question about yourself other than, how are you or doing? And you replied with the standard, can't complain, fine, or okay. You smile, she smiles. You exchange pleasantries. You chit-chat. But have you made contact? No. It's talk, but it's not a conversation. Ask yourself, did I learn anything about anyone? So the next time you meet friends or new people, try not to talk about yourself. Ask them some questions about themselves. You might learn something worth remembering the next morning. It's been said, although I'm sure this is a bit extreme, if you really listen, there's no such thing as a boring person. Acquire the art of asking the open-ended question. Let's say you're on a long bus trip. The person sitting next to you is reading a magazine called American Rabbit Farmer. Being curious, you start up a conversation. So you say, I notice you are reading American Rabbit Farmer. Let him know you'd be interested to learn more about being a rabbit farmer. You don't tell him a story about how your daughter discovered that the Easter Bunny isn't real. Be naive. Don't interrupt. You are going along for the ride. Ask him open-ended questions. Open-ended questions leave the other person free. They put the other guy in the driver's seat. Here's a closed-ended question. Mr. Smith, exactly how long have you been a rabbit farmer? Smith replies, oh, well, let's see. I think I started farming rabbits maybe 16 years ago. Come to think of it, maybe it's closer to 18. I'd have to look at my calendar. I'll get back to you on that. The conversation has come to a screeching halt. People don't talk about themselves exactly. You're not conducting an interview. You're having a conversation. So here's another open-ended question. So what drew you into this line of work? Or what are the ups and downs of being a rabbit farmer? That's a lot more effective than, how much money did you make last year after expenses? Cultivate not knowing. Your interpretation of words may have a very different meaning than the speaker does. The speaker will always appreciate the fact that you want to know more. We have all met people who are half listening. They're distracted. They look at their cell phones, which they haven't silenced. They're not looking at you. Their eyes are wandering around the room, or they're sneaking a look at the TV set. These half-listeners are physically present, but their minds are somewhere else. The message the half-listener gives off is, "This conversation is not important to me." The subtext, "You are not important to me." Now, it's not about you. I want to give you a rule of thumb. If you're talking with someone and the person uses the pronoun I more than 75% of the time, and you can't get a word in edgewise, you're not having a conversation. You're getting a lecture, a sermon, or an infomercial. Now, let's talk about empathy, which I call the golden moment of being understood. 70 years ago, Dr. Carl Rogers began studying recordings of psychotherapists working with their clients. He listened to hundreds of tapes and as well listened to recordings made while helping his own clients. He wanted to know what the therapist must do. What are the essentials of good therapy? Regardless of what school of psychotherapy, these three essential things must characterize all forms of psychotherapy. And you do not need to be a psychotherapist to apply these essential things. Unconditional warmth and acceptance. That's the first thing. The therapist creates a warm atmosphere that invites self-disclosure. Even if you might not personally approve of the person's actions or beliefs, there is no judgment. I accept you as you are. I'm not here to change you, to fix you, or reform you. And the second characteristic is being genuine. The therapist does not play a role, doesn't insist on being called doctor. You're a real person who can occasionally be vulnerable. When you speak, it's not canned, it's not boilerplate, it's from the heart, and as well the head. It's got to be genuine, authentic. You have to be yourself. And the last and most important characteristic is accurate empathy. There's a big difference between sympathy and empathy. Expressions of sympathy go like this: "Please accept my deepest sympathy during this difficult time." Or, "I'm so sorry Harold is gone." Or, "Let me know if you need anything." Or, "Could I get you a glass of water?" If you've experienced the death of a dear friend or a member of your own family, you know how hollow these phrases sound. Their subtext, "Too bad for you, not my problem." Well, empathy goes deeper. You show you can identify with the other person's feelings. In fact, you mirror in tone, in action, in facial expression what that person feels. For example, she put her arm around her friend's shoulder and stood by in silent empathy. Or, "I'm going to be here for you," but you not only say it, you show it by contacting the griever in the weeks to come. Sympathy, you send flowers. Empathy, you bring dinner. Earlier, we talked about mirroring between babies and their parents. With accurate empathy, the empathizer mirrors exactly what the receiver is feeling. Accurate empathy makes the receiver feel completely understood. Some say it's a magic moment, a moment of feeling loved.
I have blocked out the next 45 minutes for you.
Wow, that's, most of my doctors don't do that. You're in, you're out. So thank you. I'm very glad to see you. We've been going back how many years?
Oh, at least 30, maybe 40.
Yeah. Well, you know my family, you know me, and but I'm here to just, I have to tell you, I'm frustrated with life. I'm worried about getting sick sicker than I am. And I have to tell you, Dr. Trowbridge, you've been a good doctor. But I have to sum this up by saying that I hope this doesn't offend you. I don't think you've really helped me.
Oh, Steve, I'm so sorry you're suffering. I know that you've told me that quitting smoking has been a piece of what you're hoping to do. And I'm really sorry that the things that I've offered haven't helped. What do you think might help?
I think, I don't know, I just need to talk to someone. And, you know, I talked to a psychiatrist the other day. He just flipped me a prescription and that was it. He didn't know, he was clueless. And so I would rather talk to somebody like you who knows me. Yeah. So I'm worried. I'm worried about the future. I feel bad about the past. I've made my family upset. My son screamed at me the other day. He said, you want to die before your grandchildren have grown up? Whew. That went right to my heart.
Oh, Steve. You know, it has to be so hard to hear that when you're already struggling and worried about the future, and then to have your son say something like that, I'm sure it's very painful.
It absolutely, yeah, because we've generally enjoyed a good relationship. We've gotten along fine, but people are looking at me like, oh, okay, he's giving up, he's on death's doorstep. To hell with it. I mean, we've tried to reason with, and my family and I, we get along. We generally get along. But as I've gotten old, I think they're angry at me for being old. And maybe I'm angry at myself for being old. You know, Doc, as you know, we went through bad knees, bad back, replacement of this and that. And I felt like I grew old before my time. All this stuff began in my 50s, and here it is 30 years later. So I know I'm complaining. I know I'm complaining.
You're not complaining.
But I'm just trying to unload this to someone and appreciate your listening.
Oh, Steve, it's an honor to listen. You're a good man, and I know your family is close. And I'm sure that as we get older, it is hard to reconcile with that. What are the things that you're worried about?
One is I'm worried about getting sicker because I'm doing a little bit better with smoking, actually.
Are you?
Yeah.
That's great.
I haven't smoked for 2 or 3 days before I got here.
Really?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Huh. Yeah. No, I also didn't want to come in here with bad breath, you know, breathe all over you. But, my worries. Yeah, worries about going out badly. You know, I'm 82. Maybe I'll live to 90. I don't know. But I do not want to have a bad relationship with my family, and I don't want to make them feel like I've committed suicide. It's just, you know, when I think about that, I really think that if I looked in the mirror every day and said to myself, Steve, you want to die? I think I'd get the answer from the mirror. And I think that would help me. Isn't that strange?
I'm so curious, Steve. You know, when you said, you know, you don't want to go out with your relationships with your family, you know, being maybe not as strong, maybe that's not exactly what you said, but what would the mirror tell you, and what What could you do in terms of the relationships that would feel good?
What could the mirror tell me? The mirror has to tell me the truth. The mirror has to say, look at yourself. The mirror has to say, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe I need to take a long, hard look at all the things that Nancy and I have done, the kids and I have accomplished. It's been pretty good. And it's hard to remember that, but what do you think about my looking in the mirror every day?
Steve, I think that mirror is beautiful and has a gift every day for you.
Thank you.
You're a good man, Steve. You're a good father. And I can be that mirror for a moment today, and what I see is somebody who cares about their family and is looking on a life well lived.
Sorry, don't mean to do this, but you're right. Catch my breath. Yeah. Whew. Okay. No, I don't want to go out crying. I don't want to go out yelling. I don't want to go out hating myself. I want to leave some sort of legacy. I got the legacy. That's what the mirror told me. So go ahead and live the goddamn thing.
There you go. And love it. And love that family and love that you.
Thank you, Doc. I hope this presentation will enable you to capture the difficult but rewarding art of listening at home, at work, with friends, with neighbors, and even with complete strangers.